Okay, we're here. We're ready. Everyone's ready. I'm joined with my battle brothers, Bethel, the fifth.
The fifth.
I couldn't resist making a joke because I know you have three in your
The
name,
Emperor brother.
and uh, and Krueger.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Yep. We got to talk about Space Marine 2 and
You know,
how
you
people are
mean we
sleeping on
get
this.
to talk about Space Marine 2.
Is a joy.
It is a perk to be able to talk about this game.
Yeah, it is. So I have footage here of us on the battle barge here. Actually, move it forward a bit so we're actually like on the ground. But this game, it's just I don't know how to describe it other than amazing.
This game fucks.
It
It
does
does. It
fuck.
fucks and it
This
fucks
game
really
fucks.
hard.
This video's been demonetized instantly, but it's not like it was gonna ever get monetized. But that's fine. Uh,
I
I
just
am
think that the greatest thing about this game is like it doesn't sway away from being a game, right? Like it's just pure fun at the core
Yep.
of it. It's
Yep.
not trying to do anything crazy. It's doing gory kills, guns, big burly dudes, which is what Warhammer is. But like it's just about having fun in a game. It's like those classic, like, I hate saying the word classic because it's like, I feel old as shit, but like 360 days, right? Like where you pick up a game and it's just fucking fun. There's no agenda. You're just playing a game.
yeah. Well, I mean,
Yep. Absolutely.
if we're talking about like agenda and political stuff, everyone in Warhammer 40K has the "Are we the baddies?" energy, and I'm not gonna. That's
Right.
just the way it is. So, and you don't need to say anything about that. Like, you don't even need to know much of the lore for this. You should at least watch what happened in the first game, since for some fucking reason we can't sell the first game ever again, except on PC,
Yeah.
and it's been full price this whole
It's like
time,
50
which is
bucks. Yeah, it's pretty
absolutely
pricey.
ridiculous.
It's great though. It's honestly, I played it a couple months ago and it's still solid.
It is still solid. I think we should preface a couple things though that the game is definitely Space Marine 2 is definitely balanced by playing co-op.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you want this game and you have nobody to play with, I would wait for a while, maybe for a sale or until more of your friends get it, because it's not single player friendly if you're gonna do anything outside of the campaign.
I
Um,
mean, the campaign's okay, but a lot of people have been saying that the AI is brain dead, my brother included.
I mean, it is, but you can get through the campaign with the bots if you needed to. There's no way you're gonna get through operations with bots. It's
Well, if
just
you
not
want to
gonna
get to the
happen.
harder difficulties, no, you're not going to get through.
Right.
And then the way
And then
it's been working with pugs and people like kicking people for just
right,
the sake of kicking people.
which is still happening to this day,
Yeah,
as of this recording at least.
yeah. There hasn't been a patch to address that just yet,
Yes.
but that is on the docket. Like griefing like that is ridiculous.
Yes,
What,
the
kicking
devs
people
did
before it's
say
over?
yes.
Oh,
People are
that's
kicking
awful.
randoms. So the devs have addressed it, and they said that they're going to do is they're going to give you your experience. So if you do end up getting kicked, you'll get what experience you would have got had you stayed. It still doesn't fix the problem, but at least it doesn't feel like it's a waste of time, I guess.
Yeah.
But we don't know if it's like you'll get the full experience, like what you if you guys would have won, or if it's just like you guys failed kind of experience where you get like some, but
Something would be
not
better than
all.
nothing because we've had a
Something would
couple.
be better than nothing. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, we've had a couple problems with some of the later operations, just kicking people and then not letting you back in. So the game
Yes.
is not flawless, but it is really flipping good. And
I think even with its flaws, it's still great.
Absolutely. With all the negatives that you could cherry pick about the game in its current state, they all together don't knock down the score for me personally more than maybe like a half a point or a full point at max. Like it's not a 10 out of 10, but it's not like a 7 either, like what other certain publications would make you think. I mean, it is a hard 8 to 9, and I feel like it's going to be over 9 once the bugs get ironed out and the connection issues get fixed and gets some quality of life changes. It's going to be a hard 9 for sure.
Yeah, and I think like this game, typically how I look at games, I would only give like tens to people or to games that like I could recommend it to literally anybody and be like, this game is awesome. You should play it.
Yes.
Whereas like Warhammer, I don't think it's for everyone, but that doesn't change my personal opinion on it, right? I think it's definitely for me, it's like a 9, right? Like I don't want to say everybody would play it, but I think it's a great game. It's so fun. Like it catches my attention the entire time. We go through on operations. I think they're like 30 to 40 minutes long.
Yeah.
And like we'll finish it up and I'm like, shit, that was 30 minutes. What I
Where
didn't
did
even
the time
realize
go?
we were playing that long, you know?
Yes. And you
Like
would think being 30 to 40 minutes that you'd be like, well, because there's only 6 operation maps at launch, you'd think, okay, well, you're going to get burnt out pretty fast. But we just started doing Ruthless tonight and we ran 2 back to back and we still wanted to do more. But we decided to make this recording so we could talk about the game some and get it out there because there's a lot of discord around it right now with people wanting the difficulty toned down, and people are saying it's too difficult, it's too hard, and it's not noob friendly. But we just ran through on the hardest difficulty tonight, and we're not even close to max level yet. So I
yeah,
don't really understand that argument, but it's really, 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 really fun, really satisfying. There's not a game out there that I've played in recent years that has made me obsess about it like this has.
Yeah, as much as other people have been complaining about us being like, we should play this because it's so good.
Yeah.
Just
yeah,
so
and
everyone knows, I've been playing the sniper class. I started off as tactical, but found it was not as good. Was not having fun playing it, unfortunately, in operations anyway. Uh, sniper has a cloak, and they can like get the aggro off of them, and has access to some interesting weapons. But the one thing that sucks, because this is campaign footage here that you're watching, is that we found that the heavy bolter was like super good, and I think
so good.
only is it Vanguard that gets
I
it?
think the Vanguard, or no, not Vanguard, sorry, the Assault class, I believe, gets it.
Assault. If one of those, it's
But
one of those
they
two.
don't get a primary either.
Yeah, but the heavy bolt
So it's like
pistol was so good.
I do love how this game does that though. Like it changes like how you have to play the game based on your class that you're doing. It's like not every character gets like a hammer, right? The
Yeah.
the assault gets a hammer because that's its primary damage. It's a lot of damage is going to go in. It's going to go melee hard. Um, but then like imagine a sniper with a hammer. It just doesn't make sense.
No, well, sniper
Right.
doesn't even
So
get access to chain sword or power sword, just the combat knife,
yeah,
which
and that
I
but
And
that
see,
makes sense for the class, right? And
right.
that's the way I think they did a good job balancing that, so you're not feeling overpowered too, and jumping into these like operations or even say the multiplayer, which I'm not a huge fan of the multiplayer in this game. Which I think it's the lowest part about the game. But
didn't they say it was like
yeah, it's good.
it was um
It
like just
feels
a
tacked on,
yeah.
It feels tacked on, but
unfortunately.
they didn't say they've given the impression that they've actually like worked on it like it was always meant to be there, but it doesn't feel like it was meant to be there. It's completely unbalanced shit
It
show.
it feels unbalanced. The sniper class in there is absolute ass. Like the sniper class somehow has the best close range weapon in the game makes no sense.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the carbine. I did use it in
Yeah.
the campaign a bit. It's
It
got a
just
really high
fires
rate of
so
fire,
fast.
and they have a
Yep.
perk, but the perks you don't get in PvP. But there is a perk in the other one, in the operations one, to have it reload faster. But like seriously, it is a
You know,
dumb gun.
they they did a really good job touching back on operations where not only do all the classes feel unique, like they could have easily copied and pasted these 6 classes and just been like, well, these ones use this, these ones use this, and these ones use this, and that's how they're different. But not only do their abilities set them aside, but your armor customization is unique to your class as well. So like
Yeah.
because operations forces every person to have a different class, you and your 2 buddies will never look alike, at least in terms of your armor. Your colors, you might all pick the same color or whatever, but your armor will
Yeah,
always
you
look
can pick.
different from each other.
Yeah, the armor customization is actually crazy. I haven't really gone into it that much, but all the
And it
Sounds
regular
like great.
Astartes factions are there. There's like the Salamanders, the Space Wolves, which I'm
With the
personally
Blood
repping,
Angels.
Blood Angels. Yeah,
Yeah, literally, they dug deep. Like
Ultramarine.
Game
Like
Workshop was like, "Hey guys, here you go. Here's a book on like all these
yeah,
factions."
yeah,
And they just went
and this
nuts.
and this
I think
isn't
there's what
anywhere
19.
close to what they like what their end goal is. Like this is just right now. We haven't had an update yet. We haven't any like DLC or anything drop yet.
I think we had
Um,
one hot fix, but it was a hot fix. It was not a
right, it wasn't a content drop.
yeah.
You can also so like it's as customizable basically as you want it to be, or you could go in there and you could pick presets that they have unlocked for you, and you could just be like, oh, I just want to look like that, and you could pick it and you just do, and you just look like that. um it also rewards your time commitment and not just like, oh, I have a bunch of currency so I can unlock all the armor I want right away. You actually have to play and win operations and PvP in order to unlock armor pieces for your class. And they're
Which
all
isn't that?
cosmetic. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
isn't that like a common like gripe on games, right? Like this game could have easily said, "We're doing a battle pass for every single one of these factions. Like you got to go
Right.
through, pay us an extra $10 per season, and you get this is the Blood Angels line, right, for this
Right.
season." And like they could have easily done that, and it would have been bullshit. But like they were like, "Hey guys, here's everything.
yeah.
You're just gonna need the in-game currency and play the fucking game. That's it."
Yes.
Yeah, welcome to old
I love
school
that.
uh, game unlocking. That you'll
Yeah,
see
once again,
Yes.
going
here.
back to that, right? Gaming. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's a
Right.
game
And
first, not trying to make money first kind of
right.
deal.
And I just love that you can't like cheese your way to the top and you and like, you know, unlock everything that you want right off the bat. Like when you walk into somebody's lobby, whether it's your friends or public lobby, and you have certain armor pieces on, it actually shows that you've dedicated yourself to that class or to the
Yeah.
game itself, because there's no way to like cheat and buy this shit early, or like, oh, I'm just gonna unlock everything and spend $20 or whatever. Like I finished the battle
Right.
pass. Like it's
Yeah.
all there from the get-go. You just have to put in time to unlock it. And even then, it doesn't feel grindy. It doesn't feel like, oh god, because every level chances are you're unlocking something as long as you succeeded in the operation or the PvP.
Hmm.
It rewards you every. It feels like almost every time you come back to the barge, you have unlocked something, and
Right.
it
Yeah,
just
Yep.
feels really good. And that's not even counting upgrading your weapons or you are using perks for your class. Like that's just cosmetic stuff.
yeah. There
Yeah.
was a
And
lot of
kind of
cosmetics.
kind of like what you touched on, right? It's like it's feeling proud of having that and like kind of showing
Yes.
it off and like
Yes.
showing people like, hey, like this is my Space Marine. Like this is who
Yes.
I play in this game. Like it feels good because,
It
like you
does.
said, again, it's going to be rare as hell as somebody's going to look identical to you because
Right.
you can have like a I don't know a purple piece on, right? But then you like the green one on your legs or something, right?
Yeah.
So you keep that there, and then like the legendary helmet or something. But like the customization's great, and it's there. It's a lot of what people griped about with Halo Infinite, right? When they're like,
Yeah.
well, where's all the customization? Where's the colors, right? Oh, you got to pay for the battle pass. Like, no, no, no. This is built into the game. It's what we want. And
Yeah.
like
Right.
more people should support that.
They really should, and I feel like if any, I don't want to talk about the Keeleys too much, but this game is gonna get overlooked at the Keeleys. I want to call it like right now, and
I
it's a
think
fucking shame because this
I
game is
think
doing everything right in my opinion. Yes,
yeah,
it was a premium release price game with the new full price tag on it, but I would take that.
it deserves the full price.
Yeah,
It does. It's got enough content at
Absolutely.
launch to
Yeah.
warrant the price already.
yeah.
I think the story's pretty good. I think even like the operations, I feel like
Well, you guys
pretty
are
solid.
super deep into not super deep, but like
Oh
not
no,
deep in
yeah, no.
40k lore at
Yeah,
all, but you've
like
had a
I'm
decent enough time with the story.
oh yeah, like I went into this completely blind, other than playing Bolt Gun, which again, if you've played Bolt Gun, it's very much like a Doom clone, like a classic Doom clone in its own right. But that's not a game that I played for the story, so I was just like not paying attention to any of the lore or anything. I was like, oh, it's just
It
a fun game, whatever, whatever. This
fun
is the first time I've paid attention to the lore because the game is just that fun and that interesting that I want to like engross myself in it.
yeah, Bolt Gun takes place actually after Space Marine 1, but before this game. It is
Oh, see, yeah,
pretty interesting to say
it
the least.
is. And like I'm just looking at our stats here, and we've put like so Torloth, you're almost at actually you're a little over 40 hours in, and then I'm just under 50, and then Waffle is just under 50. And so we've put over 100 hours into it as a team, and we're nowhere close to being burnt out on it yet.
No, nowhere near.
Like, and I know that doesn't sound like, oh, it's 100 hours, whatever, but you got to think it's a AAA game that launched in 2024, and it had campaign operations and PvP, but like without a battle pass and without a live service, it still lasted us 100 hours combined already, and we're not bored of it yet. Like that's a sign that this game has legs to keep going for quite a while.
Yeah.
And then
Because we got to the end, and I think
roadmap.
everyone's like, "You got any more? Where's that Space Marine 3?" And it's like, "Oh,
Right.
there's operations." Now we should actually talk about the operations and how they work, because it's kind of a cool idea that
It's a very cool idea.
I feel like most games should actually, like Halo Infinite, should do something like this.
Honestly, if it wasn't for the operations, I think the game would be lower score for me personally, because after we
I'd
finished the
agree.
campaign, yeah, we would have went to PvP, and the PvP isn't quite cooked all the way yet. So I just would have dropped it. I would have finished the campaign, did a little bit of the PvP, and then been like, all right, I'm done. I'm moving on. But operations keep me coming back because you get to make your Space Marine the way that you want for the most part, and you have 6 classes to pick from, so there's a lot of variety in case I'm sick of playing this one that I've put 20 hours into. I'm going to switch classes, and as long as one of your buddies hasn't picked them or they're willing to switch, you have a lot of replay value if you don't want to fully commit to one class. And even if you do want to fully commit to one class, like we've been playing operations for probably, I'd say 25 or 30 hours of our
Yeah,
total time so far, and we're not even max level in our current classes yet.
pretty
Yeah.
close, but not quite.
We're close, like probably another couple days worth of operations and we'll be up there.
Yeah,
But then like you might ask, okay, well, if you guys max out your classes, what do you do next? Just keep playing. Like it's normally I would get all the achievements in a game and I'd move on. I don't want to move on from this.
yeah. And then they're talking about another class and another
Horde mode as well.
and horde
Yep.
mode.
Coming
Horde mode's not till
in the
next year. Now,
yeah, but I mean
uh,
it's in their timeline,
It's in
right?
their
Which
roadmap,
feels
yeah.
good
I
that
feel
like
like
they're already looking ahead, and
Yes.
I'm excited for that.
I feel like the one thing that a lot of people The other thing I think the operations do really well is they're the other side of the campaign, because there's two squads always. So your squad will, the squad in the campaign will be doing one thing, and the other team will have to go do something else. And the operations are, oh, you get to play that other cool thing that the other team's doing, which I was
Yes.
like, yes,
Yes.
because I hate it when it's like, oh, these guys are doing this cool thing, and it's like, oh man, I'd like to do that. And then
Eh,
the game's like, hey, you want to do this cool thing? And you're like, yes.
And I think I would argue that not only is that really cool, but I feel like the operations are even better than the story bits in the campaign where you get to do big epic things because you're using your own creation, your
Yeah.
own space marine, and you're going through these just as awesome events that you would have in the campaign. But like the flip side of it, it just feels even better. Like if the game had launched with just operations and that's all it was, even without a campaign, I think I would still give it the same score I'm giving it right now.
I
Like
think
operations are that fun.
I think the operation idea here is really good to have, because the other thing the operations do, and it kind of got weird since I think right now I've got the rally charge thing on this character. This is before we Waffle and I ended up switching characters, and he ended up on the tactical one, or
No,
it's
me and you
Krueger,
started.
yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
remember who, but it's like, but you don't get to pick like your character's perk or anything in the campaign. You just get to deal with what they give you, and I don't hate that per se, but it would have been nice to have a choice. Uh, if they're gonna do another, they're obviously hinting at another Space Marine game, and I hope Games Workshop and Saber and is it Focus Home published this one?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
Focus. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
I hope everyone can come to a consensus and be like, yes, greenlight another game sooner rather than later, because it's been 13 years between the first one and this one, and that's a literal shame.
I honestly feel like despite because the people that are negative are always the loudest. So like despite the negatives that some people are giving this game, I think the devs and even like the people playing it have seen that there's a huge audience for this. They knocked this game out of the park, and it doesn't even
Yeah.
have everything in it that everybody wants yet. So I think Focus and Warhammer in general, people are just going to be like, "Holy shit! Like we have a gold mine here. We'd be stupid not to support this."
I
Yeah,
think I think Saber killed it with this. Honestly, like
They
coming
really did.
from World War Z, right? Which it was actually
World
a
War Z is
decent
so
game,
janky.
but it yeah, like this game is so polished when you're playing it. It feels so good.
There's
Yeah,
so
there's like
Yes.
many little
some bugs and
details.
whatnot, but like it's great. It's like they found their home and they nested in it and just like went to town and really put their foot in it, right? Like
Yep.
it's so good.
Yep.
And I really hope that Games Workshop looks at that and says, okay, cool, like let's keep supporting Space
Well,
Marine
I'm
2
kind
for
of
like
hoping we'll see
a
some
year
of
or
the
two
other
and keep it
games.
going.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Rogue Trader's on consoles now. If you don't know what Rogue Trader is, it's an RPG. If you're not into this kind of game, Rogue Trader is basically you go around space and you find like just random whatever type people. Like you just pick up whoever and make a party out of. So you can have like the tech priest or a space wolf. Space wolves are like, imagine if Wolverine was in giant mech armor and could transform into a wolf. That's what space wolves are. They're
That's
kind of sick.
horrifying.
It's kind of sick.
Like
I would
in the sense
actually,
of like I ain't fighting that.
yeah, I wouldn't mind if they put out like, they have good like base here, right? And they have all these gorgeous assets. Like a lot of the places you'll go look stunning. They're just, mwah.
Yeah,
Uh,
like you'll catch yourself walking around just looking at the environments and realize, oh, like shit, you know what? We have to keep going. We have to keep moving because it is a gorgeous game. It's got so much atmosphere and like lore around it. So like if you're a big Warhammer guy already, you're gonna find all kinds of things that you already love about the universe in here. And even if you know nothing about it, it's got that level of awe that like Gears often gets, but even better on a bigger scale.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of to touch on that too. Like coming to this, like I said, I played the first one. I played a couple of the other Warhammer games, but I've never been like deep into the idea of like the lore and whatnot. And this game honestly makes me want to like learn more about it and like get
Yes.
into the universe and like read the books or at least like watch videos and stuff on it. It's like it's honestly it's really like built into me now. It's like I want to know more. I want to keep playing this. I want to keep like reading about it. Like I want to like find a faction that like I resonate with, right? And then like create my character around it. And I think that's just like that's part of what this game's doing, right? It's kind of like opening up that door to more people so they can see what this universe looks like and like, you know, get people
Yep.
interested. And that's
Yeah.
Yep.
awesome.
I'm
Yep.
actually
I can't
comparing
tell
it.
you the last game that did that to me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Well, comparing it to like, I don't want to crap on other devs who've made other stuff, but Dark Tide is not this polished and this fun. It's
Right.
Oh,
very
it's not,
pretty.
yeah.
It has very good graphics, but I feel like despite being like a first person game instead of a third person game, it just doesn't feel as well built.
I think what also helps with this game though, it's super cinematic. Like
Yeah.
when you do the executions or when you do like the gun strikes, it feels good in that moment. Like you feel like you're part of this really crazy action sequence where you're being swarmed by a shit ton of these Tyranids. And you just like grab one of them, rip them apart, and then you move on to the next one, right? You're just continuously moving, moving, moving. It's like it feels good. And it's a clip monster. Like you could literally just like save a 30-second clip almost anywhere in the game, and you're like, yeah, that was badass. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it everything is crunchy and heavy
Yep.
and
The audio
brutal.
design. Oh,
The
Yeah. The
audio and
audio
the
design
rumble's great.
alone.
whoever
Yeah.
did the audio for this game, bless you. You are a
Yes.
god. Like
And
you
like
did it.
there might be maybe one weapon that you could use in operations that might feel a tad underwhelming. But I would say like 98% of the weapons in the game, like you're gonna find something that you love and it's gonna feel good regardless. Like there are weapons that need tweaked to be a little bit better, but they feel good to use still and they sound good. And it
Oh
just
yeah.
nothing feels better than like running into a crowd of Tyranids and then like
Yeah.
knocking a bunch of them down, getting a gun strike, and then spinning around and catching an enemy in the air and slamming him down on
Well,
the
like,
rest of them.
Yep.
see, I know you can't see the footage that I'm showing right now, but we just opened the door and the Imperial Guards are here with the Lehman Russ in the back, and he like takes a knee because the Space Marines showed up. Space Marines are like angels in this universe, basically. They're called the Emperor's Angels. So people are just like, we're saved. This Marine, the Ultramarines are here, and it's just like, yeah, because they're badass, and they're like twice as
Yes.
big as humans. Like you can see them standing next to a normal human here, and the sense of scale in this game is absolutely fantastic.
It,
Like
it
there's
really is.
massive doors, these huge guns. Like it takes a lot, I'd say, from like the Doom remasters and the way it does things too. Like the two new Doom games, probably more Eternal with the way it did those like grotesque, like the Super Gore nest comes to mind. Some of these Tyranid places it
Mhm.
Yeah.
reminds me of that. And there's like a million of the Tyranids everywhere, and things are crazy. But I feel
Yeah.
like they could do so much with this base package that they built here, even if it's not for this game. I think they said is there one or how many more operations were they talking about? Because
Well, they just on the free track alone, I think they said just on the roadmap there's like one or two more operation maps coming just where you don't even have to invest into the season pass or anything. Like that is just coming to the game. And I think there's more than that, obviously coming past the roadmap, but just on the current one that we have, I think they're doing at least another one or two operation maps, and it's gonna be so good.
Okay. So you guys aren't, like I said, no one here is super crazy on story and lore. We liked all the weapons. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we're missing. Grenades felt a little underwhelming, but I mean, I can deal with that.
So let's preface that by saying the normal frag grenades that you start with feel a little underwhelming, but the other grenades all have their place. And
Yeah.
even on the hardest difficulty, we just did a run where we used a melt-a-bomb, which is basically kind of like a big, well, not big, maybe a little kind of a little nuke
It's a
that
strong
you,
bomb.
yeah, you drop it on the ground and then you choose when you detonate it. And we saved it for the bosses, and it just takes a chunk right out of the boss's health, and it feels really good um to save your equipment and use it for something like that rather than just like, oh, I have a grenade, I should just willy-nilly and use it. um Also, um there are every few years a game or a series comes around that does a really good job of making you feel like a badass, and it actually feels like they put effort into it rather than just like you're a badass for the sake of it. Like you
Yeah.
feel like a badass when you're playing this game. I can
Yep.
think back to like maybe, Devil May Cry 5 and like Doom Eternal, and then like this are games where you feel like a god, and it feels warranted. Like this, the better you get at the game, the more you feel like a god
Well,
rather
that's
than you're
the
just OP for the sake of it.
yeah, you're not really OP, and I feel like that's one of the other things that maybe this footage is not the best because we're still like getting grips with the game and its mechanics, but the game is kind of its best where you are literally on the brink of death every second,
Yes.
and you'll
Yeah,
be in
that's pretty much how I
about
play the game.
Yes.
yeah.
Like, on the Vanguard, it's like you're always dead.
Um like if you like we when we started doing operations, we started on the second difficulty because we I had heard through the grapevine that the lowest difficulty wasn't worth really running, so we skipped ahead to the second difficulty and then worked our way up to where we are now. We're on the hardest difficulty, and not only does it show how much we've progressed since then already just with our skill level, but like we're running through the hardest difficulty now. The last mission we just did, again, mind you, we're under level too. Nobody went down, nobody died, and it gives you way less stems and ammo and grenades on the hardest difficulty. You have to like earn your way through, and we did it already with very minimal effort. I mean, not that we coasted, we had to earn it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but it felt minimal because we've gotten so good at it now that we literally walk into a room and we just clear it, and it feels so satisfying.
It's also we've also learned. I think early on we didn't play as a team too. I think that's also what plays into it, right? Like we've started more
Yes.
strategizing. Like, hey, there's two of these over here. Like some of the bigger guys, right? Like we're gonna want to focus on them. So like start shooting them, and I'll dive in, right? And so like
Yes.
we've kind of started to like figure out how to play as a team. And I think that might be what some people are really missing out on if they're just jumping in with randoms and not like talking or communicating because like you're missing this a huge aspect of the game
Yeah,
and like
they
that
like
might just be making it harder for
Yeah.
them to play
yeah,
because you can get
that's
overran real quick
Yeah.
and it's not you could be really good at the game but it's gonna punish you,
I
which is
mean,
Yes.
great,
we did a
and I love
couple
that.
where it's like I'm gonna need help, and I'm like fending off a bunch of dudes like parrying my way, and I suck at parrying in most games, and I people will test. I absolutely despise when games make you parry for things, but the parry feels good in this game, like really good.
It does.
It
Yeah.
feels good and it feels rewarding, and
What
because
also helps is the
you
telegraphed attacks
yes,
you can
so
see them coming.
So there are telegraphed parries that will glow, like, if you're playing like Batman Arkham, like where, oh, it's a glowing little icon, so I know to counter it. But then you can also parry non-telegraphed attacks. Um and that feels extra rewarding because you didn't get like you just know the timing in your
you have
head.
to
And
watch
you,
Yeah,
for
you
it.
start. It's
yeah,
like you start to realize how these enemies work, and like you're literally becoming the space marine that just has all knowledge, right, of these like
yes,
enemies that you're fighting, and it just feels
yes.
really good
And
when you can do
because the
that.
game feels so good, you, especially in the beginning, you're going to feel like, oh, well, I'm getting the hang of it and I feel like a god. I'm going to
Oh
wander
yeah,
away from my teammates and I'm just going to go like take on an army and I'll be fine. And the game, which we have not mentioned yet, has an AI director, almost like the old Left 4 Dead's.
like
And
Left 4
it will
Dead, Back 4 Blood.
realize,
Yeah,
yes, it'll realize that you're by yourself and the game will go, oh, like you think you're a badass. Okay, what if I spawn an army on you because you decided to walk off on your own? And it, like Waffle was saying earlier, it doesn't matter how good you are at the game. Eventually, you're gonna get overran, and you will not be able to like unfuck yourself out of that situation. So your buddies will have to come try to bail you out, and you could all die. You could all get wiped because somebody was like, I'm overconfident, and we're just gonna go in." Um, but that's what I love though is it
yeah. I know. I love
reinforces
that part.
it reinforces teamwork without making it mandatory in a sense like it's impossible for us to win this fight. It's not impossible. It's just like, listen, you're really good at the game. We get it. But you really need to work as a team and I'm going to show you why. And then the game throws everything it has at you and goes, "Oh fuck. You know what? I got humbled a little bit. Maybe we should work as a team." And once you synergize, you play with the same people over and over and over again, and you synergize and you get used to each other's play styles. There's
Brothers.
situations, exactly, yeah, brothers. There's so many situations where we thought, okay, this is like we have no ammo, we're all low on health. There's no way we're gonna get out of this situation. But with like determination and knowing how everybody plays and just doing everything a certain way together, you will overcome. You might not always, but eventually you do overcome. And it feels so good to come back from the brink of, wow, we almost wiped, but we didn't.
Yeah, two people are out of ammo. One person has like one clip, and like you're all literally just like pulsing red.
Yeah,
Yes.
Like,
it's that meme
Yes.
online. I don't know if you've seen it. It's like the Carnifex just spawned and all the swords. It's like
yeah.
we've got no
I mean,
ammo.
we've had that though. It
Yeah,
was
we
like the
Yeah,
have.
first mission.
Yeah.
It wasn't the first time we did it, but it was like on the first mission. We literally, I think it was the first time we did the third difficulty. I can't remember what it's called. Um,
Uh yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
I can't remember
ruthless,
either.
but yeah.
No,
Anyways,
it's
and like
yeah.
we got a little bit ways in, and then all of a sudden, like we're all running a little low on ammo. We've barely seen ammo boxes because they start to kind of pull those away from you. And then a Carnifex spawns, and we're like, oh, okay. Like
Yeah.
now we got to figure out how to fight this, or kite it enough so we can find a box and then fight it, right?
Yes.
Which
And
which also brings. Oh yeah, go ahead.
no, well, I was just gonna add to that. So again, like talking about Left 4 Dead and Back 4 Blood, so you think, okay, well, like it spawned a tank on us for Left 4 Dead for people that play Left 4 Dead. It spawned a tank on us, and it's like, okay, we don't have enough ammo to fight it. So you could just run, right? Well, in a normal game, you could. But in this game, because it uses an AI director, you try to run away from the Carnifex, it's gonna spawn enemies in front of you. So then you're double fucked if you try to run away. It's better to just try to fight it with what you have than trying to run because you will certainly die trying to run away from it and the game punishes you for going nope.
Because it will
it
chase you.
will it will chase you and it'll other spawn other enemies on you and you're just double fucked.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to talk about this game too was, um, the mission structure is varied, right? It's not go in, kill X amount of things, and then get out, right? It's like
Right.
there was one, honestly, there I think it's like the third or fourth mission in the operations. It almost felt like at the end like a Destiny raid. Like you're
Yeah.
literally calling out symbols to make sure that you can hit the right buttons to shoot this end boss, because if you don't, it's going to spawn enemies. You got to keep fighting and fighting and fighting in this pit, and it's really nice to see them look at the structure of how, once again, going back like Left 4 Dead, World War Z, Back 4 Blood, like that structure of how there's always that what do they call it, the finale, right?
Yeah.
And like kind of changing it up a little bit. You're not just holding out, like you're doing something, or you're fighting a boss, or you're doing like an objective that changes the way you're going to look at it, instead of just
Right.
And
just
only
fighting.
once did the game ever use the stand in this thing and fight waves of dudes. Once.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
Take
even then,
notes, every fucking looter shooter.
yes. Even then, though, even then, copying an objective like that, where it's like, it's very not engaging generally, and it's a very cliched video game tactic at this point. Space Marine 2 still felt like, yeah, but you know what? I'll stand in this circle all day because this game feels so good to play
Well,
that I don't give a shit.
to be fair, there was
Yeah.
a very interesting twist to that. How it came up a couple times. Like I think it's that one mission. I know it's a low point for some people, but I don't want to spoil anything too much. But there was
Yeah.
there was a twist on it, and right here we've got the raise the satellite pedal things. This one I have heard is terrible with AI in the campaign because you can't get them to turn the wheel, so you have to turn
Right.
the
Oh,
wheel
the
and defend
wheels.
yourself.
Yeah,
Yes.
I will say this though, even that part, turning that wheel, felt so good. Like, I don't know
Yes.
why, but you
Yes.
spinning that, and like the sound design for it and everything, and like the way they angle the camera in some of these shots, and like when you're doing like gun strikes and everything, it just feels super cinematic.
Yes. There is again, not to spoil anything, there is a mission towards the end of the campaign where not only does it feel like a Destiny raid in terms of things that you have to manage, but there's a part where you have to direct a battery to certain areas of the map before you can like load it on to your ship and go. And
Oh yeah,
somebody
yeah,
has to stand up on this platform and manage the control panels to make the tracks line up while the other people push it and protect it from the enemies. And it's just like it sounds like, oh yeah, that's normal video game shit, but when you play it, it doesn't feel frustrating. It didn't feel boring. It didn't feel like, oh my god, like, yeah, let's just get this done. It felt like we were pushing it and earning it and like fighting for it, and
yeah.
it felt really satisfying. And like
I
even
feel like
something like that just felt really good.
a lot of moments in the game feel like this is the last stand. Like, we have
Yes.
to stand here and fight.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I love that, because like it's like that push to keep going and going and going when everything else is against you. And I love that.
Yes.
And like, I'm not spoiling, but there's a part in the campaign where it's like you and it's the whole crew, and it's this super epic moment where like, it's been shared online, but it's just like you're
Don't
raising it,
don't
and
read the don't
you're
read the
just
spoilers,
it's
everyone. Don't read the spoilers.
yeah, it's just, it feels so good. Like, it's great.
Yeah.
It is a great
It's
moment,
phenomenal.
and it kind of shows you like how these people think. And there's a lot of like this is deep in 40k lore. Like you can see there's like candles and stuff on the like lit on the lifts, and the ships are like giant bloody cathedrals in space. I love that.
Somebody needs to
Absolutely
Yeah.
make a
sick.
game where you're the candle lighter. Like, the game is just Warhammer 40k candle lighter, and you have to go through and like light all these
Like
candles. It'll be
Power
like,
Wash Simulator,
it's
but you
yeah, I
just
was about
light
to say, it's like
candles.
Power Washer, right? Like, you get like certain objectives and time constraints and stuff like that. Like certain
Yes.
kind of like weird angled
Yeah.
like lighters that light certain candles faster.
Yes. When we first started playing this game, I was kind of like, I don't want to say teasing it because that's got a negative connotation, but I was kind of mocking it because, of course, I didn't know anything about the lore and everything going into it. But I was mocking it in a way because it felt really edgy in terms of like a 13-year-old kid drawing skulls in his notebook. Like it was like, oh my god, this is like a 13-year-old kid's wet dream. This is like this is everything that a kid would want to see, and that sounds like a negative. But when you're playing it and you're kind of soaking it all in, you're like, oh god damn, this game is metal as fuck. And it
Mhm.
like you could easily if it was done wrong, it'd be the cringiest shit ever. But it's done so right that you like it doesn't lose any points for being edgy for the sake of it because it just feels
Well, no one really
it feels like
there's like the one dude in the campaign who acts edgy, but other than that, I would say most of the characters are relatively level-headed. And
Yeah.
the one thing that sucks is, and why I would say you should watch something about what happened in Space Marine 1, because there is a callback right at the end to the other game, and Krueger's like, "What the hell? Who the hell's that?" And I'm like, "It was this guy."
Are we
And it's
supposed to
like,
Yeah.
know that guy?
"Who's this
And
guy?"
we're
And I'm
like,
like,
yeah, that's
"That
exactly
guy's."
what I said. Like the credits roll, and I'm like, so are we supposed to know who that fucking guy was? Because I don't know. And but both Waffle and Torloth played the game, and they know they played the first game, and they know who this person was. So while that's something that it's not a big deal to me that I missed out on some big reveal, for other people, they might feel cheap that they didn't like they got this revealed that they didn't understand. So I recommend what Torloff was saying. Like you should definitely check out the first game, play it if you can, or if not, at least watch like an extensive YouTube video about it, so you understand when you get through it why the things that are revealed are revealed and why they're important. Don't be like me and be like, who the fuck is this guy and why do I
Well,
care?
I mean, there's the whole first bit. I don't want to say too much, but if you played the first game and know how it ends, you'll be like, "Well, how is Tychus back? How is he an Ultramarine again?" And then
yeah.
they'll be like, they explain that right at the beginning.
And they
Yeah,
touch on that like right away too.
yeah.
Yeah, because it's kind of
And again,
important.
let's praise the tutorial mission. Not only is it a beefy, like 25 to 40-minute long mission that's just a tutorial, but it makes you feel like a badass. So by the end of it, you're fighting like a army by yourself, and you don't feel overwhelmed and you don't feel like you're getting cheated out of anything. Like you feel like, God, I got really good at this all of a sudden. I'm kind of a badass. Like
Yeah,
it is one of the best tutorials I've ever played for a game. It does not hold your
Yep.
hand in the
Yep.
slightest bit. It gives you everything you need to know and just says, okay,
yeah. It
go
also
do it.
doesn't
I
do that
told you how to
annoying
do it.
tutorial thing where it's like, "Oh, you didn't understand this mechanic," or you're like, I don't care about this mechanic."
Let's redo it
Right.
5 more times.
Yeah, it
Here's
Yeah,
doesn't
one
do
ending.
that. It just lets you
Like,
keep going, and then it's like,
yes,
and we'll be like, "You can do this mechanic," and
but
we'll
you don't
leave the
have to
prompts
do it
for you, but you
here.
don't have
Yes.
to. Yeah,
Yes.
which I
If
like
that's not,
because
yes, I love
tutorials are
that.
lame.
Yes. Tutorials are typically way too handholdy and way just not very interesting. It's like, okay, I want to get to the game, I don't care. This tutorial made me go, God, I really, really like that. And I cannot wait to get further into the game where like I don't have to try and remember all the things I can do. I just know I can do them now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anything else anyone wants to say on this?
Uh if okay, so, as much as we recommend this game, if you are strictly a PvP person, I would not recommend this game for
This is not
you
for
at
you
its
right now.
current state. No, it is
Not
it
right
is
now.
PvP is in a really rough spot. It doesn't feel even when you win, it doesn't feel satisfying. Um there's a lot of balancing issues that needs to be addressed. There's a lot of general things that need to be addressed about the PvP. Frankly, if the PvP like a year from now just got killed off and they focused on operations, as much
Okay
as
with
that
that.
would be a bummer, I'd be okay with it. Yeah. I
Yeah,
think
like
I think
today,
yeah.
kind of what you were touching on, like doesn't even feel that great.
No.
It doesn't really have those moments you're like, oh man, that was tense. I can't believe we
Yeah.
pulled it out.
Yeah.
Like last minute we got it. Like we did one game today where like we destroyed the other team, and like the entire time I'm like, I don't even like this. Like
Yeah, it
I
doesn't
went
feel
10 and
good.
0,
Yeah.
and it nothing about it felt like right. I don't know.
No.
Like it just I was like, I don't even know why this doesn't feel satisfying.
Yeah. I don't
Which
think
isn't a
we
slight on the PvP. I think it's just it's missing something. And I
yeah.
think maybe that's just maybe my attachment to wanting to play operations instead.
Yeah,
Probably.
but we've
We've
played other
played
PvP games though, and they've been not great. And
Yeah, PvP is hard to balance. Don't get me wrong. Like we play a lot of Overwatch as a group, and there are nights where it's a nightmare. But this in particular, like at least in Overwatch, if you're trouncing the other team, it may not feel like super rewarding, but you can find some enjoyment out of it. This PvP in Space Marine, you could get trounced or trounce the other team and both just feel bad. Like it's just
At least in
something's
our
missing.
opinion, right?
Yes, in our
Like,
opinion.
there's probably some people out there who just absolutely love it. But like the other thing that to touch on for the PvP portion is like if I think it's 6v6, right?
It is.
And you can only go on the battle barge with 3 people. So if I wanted to play a full team, I still have to link up with 3 randoms. That's
Yep.
3 people that I can't depend on, that are not in my party, that are not talking to me, that like we can lose the game. So like I don't understand why you would have that 6v6 if you can't group up together with your friends,
Yes.
right? We tried the other night, we had 4 people, we were like, oh, let's just do PvP instead of operations. That's fine. And we couldn't do it. Like I don't understand how you like how that got through and that was just like the norm. I don't
Yeah.
understand that part
it makes
really.
me feel like PvP was definitely an afterthought. Though the maps are really
Yes.
cool looking, even if
The maps are cool, and
There's like 4 of them.
yeah,
they are, but they feel cool while you're in them. The problem is the combat doesn't feel good. It feels like almost like there's like a latency problem. Even if you don't
Yeah, I
physically
think so.
feel it, nothing connects the way you expect it to connect.
yeah.
And then the game modes are as basic can get. There's team deathmatch, King of the Hill, and like control. Um, and it just doesn't. It's not reinventing the wheel, but it's not even marking up to an average PvP as well. Like it is its weakest link. And if this launched with just like operations in PvP, I would feel like I got hosed on the cost because the PvP is so bad that, in my opinion, there's no value in it. There isn't, other than finishing off the achievements, there is not a reason in hell I would ever go back into the PvP.
Yeah, I have not been enjoying my time with it. Like it was
No.
kind of fun playing heavy, but one of the achievements is to get a win with each class. And oof.
Yeah,
Like
it
I
forces you
had
to
a
play
couple
outside of your norm.
yeah.
Yes. And you can also, to touch on PvP, you can double up on classes, but that's it. So if 2 people insta lock a class that you're working on, you're screwed and you have to pick another class. So that feels really bad, especially if you just want to focus on one class and kind of be your main.
If you're
If two
really good
people
at that
insta lock it,
class.
right? If you're really good at that class and somebody locks you out of it, that's it.
Or
And you
you
can't
haven't set
even
up
just
weapons for the other
right,
one.
and you can't just quit and go do another match because currently the connectivity issues are so bad that if you leave a match or you cancel matchmaking, you have to hard reset your game because you get locked out and the matchmaking glitches out and it'll close your game down and your people that are with you will get sent back to their battle barges and you'll have to completely close the game down and reconnect with everybody because there's some sort of glitch with the connectivity and it just doesn't want you to cancel matchmaking. It doesn't want you to do anything finicky. Another problem is because the matchmaking sucks so bad and it's completely unbalanced. If you got trounced and you're like, okay, well, let's just back out and either switch modes or just requeue, chances are about 75% of the chance that your
I
game
would
will
say
glitch out.
90. I feel
Well,
like we
there
had it
are
work one time.
times there are times where it doesn't do it to you, but most of the time it locks you out and it'll say that you're matchmaking, but you're not, and it'll just constantly search and never find anything for you. And
Eventually they'll kick you to
right. And
the home
that's a
screen.
huge problem too. That nothing gets more frustrating than losing, backing out so you don't have to play the same people, and then having to hard reset your game because the game kicked you out or kicked the host out. It's incredibly frustrating,
Yeah.
and
But
it's
with all
not
that
worth
said,
the hassle. Yes,
love the game.
love the game.
Even still,
Everything
like
everything outside of PvP is a fucking chef's kiss, and I can't
Yeah.
glow about it enough.
Yeah. We definitely need more. I would be very happy if they just were like Space Marine 3 or a spin-off game with different characters, because it doesn't need to
I
be
mean, honestly,
Tychus.
just give me 2 years of more
Yeah.
operations, and
Yes.
I honestly like, and then and then tell me that you're going to be working on Space Marine 3, and like from now, like in 2028, we get
I
another one, right?
I
Like four
want to
years, I'm
see.
okay with that.
Yeah,
I'm
I
fine.
want to see a horde mode with 6-year buddies. I want horde mode to be ever growing difficulty as the waves go by, and up to 6 of your buddies can be in there. That's what I want to see for horde.
Yeah.
That'd be great, but it would
It
also,
would
I
be
feel
good.
like that might lose like the togetherness a little bit, because I feel like you start to lose like where everybody is. People are like off
I
doing their
kind of
own
feel
thing,
like
you
you
know? I
could
don't know.
do a 6-player co-op kind of game with 2 squads, but you'd have to
Right.
set up the missions in a way where the 2 squads would have to like separate. Like maybe you start together, then you separate, and then you get back. Like
Yes. Like each of you are
I
in this, or like all
see that.
both teams are in the same horde match, but they have to go down other paths, maybe to do an objective or whatever, and then each team is in their own horde arena. So you're still doing 3 versus the AI, but you're 6 people working towards the same goal. You're
yeah,
just not in the same arena. Like that would be cool.
yeah. This game has some of the best bones, I would say. I do think
Yes.
the battle barge is a little bit superfluous, and might like it's cool for the campaign or whatever. You gotta go around, gotta talk to people, but it adds a bunch of loading where in like the operations and the PvP stuff could have been just menus,
Yeah.
and it doesn't need to like
Honestly,
3D load little 3D
my
stuff in.
I mean,
my
I
biggest
actually don't mind it.
complaint.
I kind of like, that little hub personally.
Well,
That's just me.
I don't mind the hub, but my biggest complaint outside of PvP is that this game, whether you're running in performance or quality, has so much fucking loading in it. You load for everything. If you switch party leaders, the game has to kick everybody out and go into somebody else's barge, even though all the barges are the same. Like there is so much loading, unnecessary loading for everything that you do. It slows the game down to a crawl when you just want to get into something. But once you're in an operation or PvP or campaign, there is no loading. Like you're good once you're in one. But
Yeah,
it takes so long to start one up, to get going. Then there's a flying in cutscene, and then which you could skip, but then there's loading that you can't skip. Then after you beat the operation, you go back into loading that you can't skip. And it's a lot of unnecessary loading, but again, I feel like that'll change with quality of life things in the future. It's not a huge gripe. It's just another gripe.
it could be an engine limitation or something, because
It
this
could
is
be.
not running Unreal or anything. This is their
Right.
own in-house engine. I thought it was Unreal 5, but it is not. It is, I believe they call it the Swarm engine.
Which, yeah, it is Swarm. Yeah, and I think that's what they developed with World War Z, if I
Yes.
remember
This is a
correctly.
lot
And
more
you can see
polished than
you can
World
see a
War
lot
Z.
of,
You could definitely see
yeah,
it. I think
you can
World
see
War Z
some of the similar
crawled
things.
so this game could run.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
100%.
and there are dips in there, even in performance mode, there are frame rate dips that happen in certain areas of certain levels or certain operations, but it's not so
It's not
extensive.
awful, but
Yeah, it's not awful, but it's noticeable in certain spots.
yeah, there's a couple spots where the image gets pretty fuzzy, and there's one particular one where you like coming in on a refinery and you crest this hill and you can see like the whole refinery in front of you, and the distance detail starts to like just fuzz out. Um, Now I have heard that runs. I'm not trying to be a console shill or anything when I say this, but I've heard the PS5 version is far worse running in some of these spots, these problem areas, and so you might just want to play it in the 30 FPS mode if you find that to be an issue.
I myself personally would recommend to everybody to play it in the performance mode so you get the solid frame rate. Again, there are spots where it dips, but most of the time, I'd say maybe 85-90% of the time, it might not be a solid 60, but it's like high 50s, maybe mid 50s. Um it's not super noticeable. Even like when you get a lot of enemies on screen, it doesn't really dip from that. It dips from other random things. Like you'll be in
Particle
a fight with
effects.
maybe right. Like you might be fighting a boss and it might just kind of go down in frames all of a sudden
Yeah.
for no reason. So it's not so much that like, oh, there's a lot of shit on screen. Here goes the frames. They seem to be random, like packet losses almost, but it's not so extensive that it becomes an issue. It's hardly noticeable unless you're really looking for it.
But
And
we've
it
been playing
definitely
on
hasn't.
we've been playing on Xbox Series X.
Yes,
All three of us,
and
right?
it
Yep. Yep.
yes,
Yep.
and it has not ruined my experience
No.
enough where it dips and I get
But like I said,
angry or I
there
yeah
were reports that the PS5 version runs a lot worse. Like
yes
up to 12
Which
frames a second
which
worse in
sucks,
spots.
right? Like
it does yeah
I would love for like the people like that console main on PlayStation to have the similar experience, which I really hope they end up fixing.
I feel like they
Um,
will. I think it'll get updated eventually where it
yeah,
runs really good on both and it needs
I'm hoping
to.
so.
Um
I'm not
but
surprised that PC, but I know PC's also had some other issues, but I'm not surprised that Xbox was a more priority for them because there's a lot of 40K players on Xbox. Some people might disagree with that, but this game plays a lot like Gears of War, and a lot of
it
Gears of War
does.
people are like, "Yup,
Yeah, I feel like if you are even slightly into Gears or Doom, play this game if you haven't.
yeah, this is
Yeah,
the
But
I
this
mean,
is the kind of IP that really inspired that because you have to remember 40K is like
yes,
from the 80s.
right. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, there's times when I'm playing, I honestly get really reminiscent of like old school God of War, like 1, 2, 3, like the kills, like even the dodging and the blocking and stuff. Some of those
Yeah.
like same not animations, right? But like it's very similar in that sense,
Yeah.
and kind of what you're saying, like Doom and stuff. But like I love that they're able to find their own kind of pattern with this, and like the gameplay loop is on point.
Yeah.
There's only a few times where you're just walking around looking for random things that like that the game's not like pouring enemies out at you.
Right. You get enough time to breathe to appreciate the moment of serenity. You're not constantly bombarded with enemies all the way through the mission to the point where you feel exhausted. They give you just enough room to breathe in between fights where by the time another one starts up, you've been itching for it and you're ready to go.
Yeah,
Yep.
honestly, I could go for more games like more
Yeah.
of this.
Yeah. I
Yep.
mean, honestly, like if they took this same exact formula and made a Transformers game out of it,
Oh God.
amazing.
It could maybe
Amazing.
Be
work. I
so
don't know.
good.
Like, no,
It'd be
it
it
would
would
be it'd be
definitely
so
work.
good.
Yeah.
I think the
It'd be
ultraviolence
incredible.
is really
Oh
important.
no, not maybe not like
Well,
the ultra
no,
violence, but I mean you could still
just
tone it down with
right. The
executions, right?
gameplay and the engine is more what we're talking about,
I
not
mean, we
so
had
much
War for
the theme.
Cybertron and Fall of
Yeah.
Cybertron, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
we could do it.
Yeah.
I think if I'm being honest, I'd like them to keep in the 40K universe, but they could use different enemy factions or even let you play other like other factions. Um
Oh yeah, I never want Saber to do anything else.
No.
Faber,
Like
you make
stay here.
40K games forever now.
This is it.
Yep.
This is your pinnacle. Like keep going.
Yep. If this is all they did for the rest of time, this is their gold mine right now. Like
Yeah,
just
it's great.
Well, I actually
and
love what we heard from Saber. It's like we just tried to make a fun game first.
yeah.
And I don't want to talk about the elf. Well, I guess we can briefly mention the elephant in the room. Of all the games that came out in the past uh like couple months, this has been the big one. We're like, yeah, it's gonna be great. And it's a game that's trying to be a game first and not push like an agenda or do anything
Yeah.
crazy. And it's been so nice to see. It's been so nice to play something that's not.
That's just a game.
It's just
and
a game.
nothing
It's
more.
not like, oh,
Yeah.
well, we have to do this. I've been seeing some of the stuff for Dragon Age Veilguard, and I'm not. It's not blowing me away like the
I
old
think
one
I
does.
think I think it's almost similar in the like same vein. I mean, not identical, but like when Strangers of Paradise came out, right?
I still love
And like
Strangers of Paradise.
yeah, well it's like these three dudes just like going on the march against chaos. Like
Yeah.
it's just feels really and you fight chaos. So um
You do fight chaos.
you do. Yeah. And like it just feels good that it's like it's not trying to be something else, right? It's
Yeah.
not trying to shoehorn things in. It's just focused on what it wants to focus on and giving you the gameplay that you deserve. You deserve it in
Yep.
your life.
Strangers of
And
Paradise is someone's like, okay, I want to make a Final Fantasy game. And it's like, okay, but the theme's gonna be Frank Sinatra's My Way. Okay. And you might say that's terrible. No, it's great. I know some people hate that game, but they're wrong. It's not hateable. You just have to accept it as a fun game because it's a prequel to one of the dumbest Final Fantasy games that exists. Getting slightly off track here, but you
Little
are
off
right.
track.
You are right. Oh, that.
well, to sum up, the game's amazing. If you haven't played it yet, get it. Get your friends to get it. Enjoy it, and just be thankful that we're still getting video games like this in
Yeah.
2024.
I mean, if you can, like on like Xbox and PlayStation, do like game share bit, right? Where you can
Yeah.
if you're on somebody else's console or whatever. I know it's like sometimes frowned upon, but like it's a buy one, two people get to play, right?
Yes.
So you get that buddy in there and like get to play it because the game is just so much better with a friend.
It
Yes.
really
And
is.
we've been fortunate enough to have people able and willing to play it, right? Like I think
Yes.
going through it just wouldn't feel the same. That said, Space Marine 1 is a single player game. There is PvP. I never touched it because you had to use like a unlock code like they used to use back in the day. Like I can't remember what they were called, like something unlock pass or whatever.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't.
Online pass.
Yeah, online pass, yeah, those.
Yeah.
But like that game's single player and it felt really good, but this game just would not be the same
No.
without people to play with.
Yes.
Yeah, I definitely think. Also, I wish Sega and was it is it Embracer has the rights now? I don't know. Someone because Embracer owned Relic, but did they close Relic?
Uh
I don't even know what
it was
happened.
yeah, THQ,
Yeah,
I think
THQ was publishing it, and then
publishing
Sega
it,
bought
yeah.
out. I wish they'd stop feuding and bitching about it or whatever, and just release the game again for people to buy it. Like, please, for the love of God, just stop.
It'd be nice. It still feels like a very solid game today.
I mean, there's a couple
It,
things that I
it
would want them to address in it, but
yeah. I mean,
mostly just some of the bugs.
today's standard, we would want 60 frames for sure with
Yeah,
that
yeah.
game.
Right.
It
Yeah.
looks
But
good though.
yeah,
Like it still looks good. Like not as good
it
as
still looks
2,
pretty good, yeah.
obviously, but
Oh no, yeah. Very few games look as good as this one, to be fair.
no, they don't. Okay, I think I'm good. Krueger, you good?
I'm good. I think we've said everything we need to say.
Yeah, just play it.
Just play it.
Just
Play
Simple
it.
as that. Just play it.
Just
Yep.
play it. All right, everyone. Thank you for watching our rambly talking about unscripted talk about Space Marine 2.
brothers.
Brother.
Brothers.
We need more. Get your battle brothers ready. If they could do one with Sisters of Battle, we'd play it too.
Yes.
Sisters of Battle are crazy looking. Battle Nuns. I bet you that would be a big hit.
Oh yeah.
It absolutely would be.
Oh. Okay, I'm gonna turn off the recording now. Until next time, everyone.
All right.
Matane.